Hey guys, Reason here. Just want to give you a brief update. I know there has not been many videos released here over the past few weeks. I've been developing new recipes and we've been trying to figure out how we're going to navigate this whole new COVID-19 thing here in Ohio. However, I am going to move forward. My wife and I are also starting a new journey. It's called Free the Skinny Girl and Free the Skinny Guy, and we will actually be doing a podcast. And some of the weight loss journey that we'll be going through will actually bleed over to this channel as well. We're excited because we're going to try some new recipes, some new healthier options to help feed your family during these times, and also try to make them quick and easy because I know that time is valuable to parents and people that are working families. I want to give a quick shout out to a couple friends of mine, Tom and Sherry. They actually designed this sign for me. That's what I do. I cook and I know things. So that's kind of me in a nutshell. So I wanted to give them a shout out and thank them for the sign. I will be displaying this somehow in our future episodes that we record for this show. So anyway, today we are going to look at sushi, and this is going to be a vegetable sushi. My wife and my family does not care for raw sushi, but however, this is the vegetable version, which will be semi-cooked, raw, depending on what items you use. So let's get right to it. So the first thing we're going to start out with here is I have in my rice cooker. Now you can do the stovetop or rice cooker. I've just discovered that a rice cooker is easier for us because you can kind of set it and just walk away. However, I prefer using sushi rice. So you have to use sushi rice. Okay, so we are using 1.5 cups of sushi rice. Now once again, you don't have to worry about the ingredients. It will be listed in the description below. But I have in here 1.5 cups of sushi rice. You can use whatever brand you like, but it has to be sushi rice, otherwise it's not sticky enough and doesn't quite work because it needs the starch. So I always start out by rinsing my sushi rice until the water is clear or near clear, because you'll see the first time we actually rinse this, it'll be milky. And what we're trying to do is rinse off as much of that milkiness. You can see there all that milkiness. We're rinsing off as much as we possibly can, and any of the rice hulls that might be still in the rice that didn't come off. So sometimes it just depends on the brand of rice, how many times you need to rinse it. I usually rinse mine about 5 times. It seems like that's a good medium, but you can still see it's still milky. So we'll go ahead and rinse that again. And then you just continue to do this until your rice is clear. Or near clear. It's not going to be crystal clear because you're always going to have starch. But you can see it's starting to lighten up slightly. And as you can see there, that has pretty well cleared up. So this will be my final rinse for this batch. And I'm just going to go ahead and drain off as much water as I can. I don't use a strainer or anything. I just try to get off as much as I can without actually dumping the rice in the sink. Okay, so here I have my rice cooker. And basically we're going to add 2 cups of just plain water to this rice. I use cold water, doesn't really matter. We just have a water filter on our cold water tap, so I want filtered water in here. So I'm just going to make sure all the rice is off the sides here. And then I'm simply going to put the lid on. And then I'm going to put it on cook and let it do its thing. Now, different rice cookers take different amounts of time. So just depending on your rice cooker, you can do this stovetop if you need to. That's fine as well. But we're just going to go ahead and let this cook and steam. So I'm going to make my seasoned rice vinegar. I buy my rice vinegar unseasoned so that I can control the salt and sugar that's in my seasoning, and that it actually is salt and sugar and not other additives. So we just buy this. This comes at Walmart, Kroger. You can get this as non-GMO. This is the rice vinegar. This is important to use rice vinegar. It has a unique flavor to it. It's mild. So we're going to take and use 1/4 cup of this rice vinegar. Quarter cup of the rice vinegar, and then to that I'm actually going to add 1/4 cup of white sugar. Quarter cup of white sugar goes in there. Rinse out my sugar. And then to that also goes 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I measure my salt by hand. There's about 1/4 teaspoon. You don't want to do too much salt because your soy sauce and other condiments that you use for your rice is going to be salty. So all I'm going to do is heat this up on low long enough to dissolve the sugar and the salt until it's clear, because this is actually what we're going to put into our rice mixture to season it. That kind of helps it make it a little stickier, season it somewhat to actually make our sushi rolls. I just want to remind you that this is your creation. You can do whatever you want in your sushi rolls. These are just things that we like in our sushi rolls. So the first thing I've got here is some red pepper. It's frozen red pepper. We buy all the red peppers, cut them and freeze them just for convenience. So these have been frozen, which once they actually thaw out, they'll be a little softer, which is typically how people like their sushi. We like ours kind of a little bit of everything. So that's going to thaw out. The next thing I have here is some fresh carrots. And how you want your sushi items is you want them small and thin, because they have to be shoved essentially into the center of a sushi roll. So with the carrot, just take your time, but basically all I'm doing is I'm cutting the carrot in thin strips. So how I do that is I cut them on an angle so they're nice and flat, kind of like that. Then I go back through and then I cut them again so they're kind of about the size of matchsticks. So there you can see they're about the size of a matchstick. So that's kind of the size I'm looking for my sushi roll, so that they lay nice and neat in there, and they're a lot easier to fill, and they don't stick out the sides because you only have so much space to fill fillings with. So you want to make sure it's thin, and you want a little bit of flavor of everything. So in order to get more items into the sushi roll, you actually have to have your items thin or smaller. I'm also going to put some mild pepper. These are fresh from our garden. I'm trying to utilize as much of our garden stuff as possible. So when I'm looking at this, what I'm trying to do is make things into small squares or sticks. So if I look at this pepper, I can say, oh, that looks like that could be the size of a stick, and that looks like it could be the size of a stick. So then what I do is I just cut these down the middle, cut them right in half, and then I can very easily just pull out my seeds, just like that, and I don't make a big mess. Because these seeds, once they get loose, they can be a handful. So what I'm going to do is just turn it over, and you always want to cut your things with the rough side up so the knife can penetrate it. And then I'm just going to go right down like this and make those about the size of matchsticks as well. And you can see there, roughly the size of matchsticks. And they have mild peppers have a great smell. They're very aromatic. Most people eat them pickled. However, a raw pepper in a salad, in a sushi roll like this, I fry it in our eggs. There are just so many uses for this besides pickling them and then getting the flavor of pickle and not really enjoying the flavor of the pepper. All right, so something else that we like a lot are roasted red peppers in our, now I buy these pre-done. They're just roasted red bell peppers. Not a whole lot to do here. I'll just take a few of the slivers out here and kind of make them a little smaller. So these are pretty big chunks. So all I'm going to do is just kind of tidy them up a little bit, make them a little smaller, so they're actually easier to put inside the sushi roll. Something else my family likes is cucumber in theirs. So what I'm going to do, these are from our garden as well. I cut the sides off. So basically what you want to do is just take your knife, go down the side, and just take as little of the flesh away as possible, but you want all the skin off. The skin has a hard flavor. It's kind of hard to chew. It's just not pleasant to eat in a sushi roll. So we're going to take all that off. And then I cut my cucumber down the middle, just like this. And then I take in all the seeds, I push them out. I want all these seeds out because I don't want them in my sushi roll. I want just the flavor and the soft flesh of the cucumber. So I'm popping all these out. We'll just set those aside. You can dry them out and grow more cucumber next year. So once again, about the size of a matchstick. So we'll go through those. About the size of a matchstick. All right, so something else that we like in our sushi roll, if you have any leftover lunch meats or meats that you kind of enjoy, you can use those. So I've got some ham here. So I'm gonna take a piece of ham, cut it down the middle, just like so. Fold this over, and I'm gonna cut him down the middle. So basically I'm gonna go in quarters. What I'm trying to get, once again, is those matchstick sizes. One of my other favorite things that we do is cream cheese. So what I do with my cream cheese is we get the blocks just like this. What I'm doing is just cutting off a wedge like that. And then once I have it in a wedge, I'm going to cut strips of my cream cheese off, and then I set it on a platter. And I'm going to refrigerate all the stuff that I just cut until I'm ready to assemble my sushi roll. Then another favorite that we have is I like to do a dessert sushi roll. And basically what I do for my dessert sushi roll is I have some fresh strawberries here. They're kind of on the edge of not being edible. So what I do is I just cut the stems off like so. And then, of course, you know, I want this to be the size of matchsticks. So I've got to kind of cut thin layers like that into my sushi, or into this rather, and then I'm going to cut it into little strips, less like that. Now this takes some practice, so take your time. Good way to hone your knife skills. Now what I've got here is just a bag of mixed berries. So I'm going to just put some of these mixed berries in a bowl, just like so. And this is going to be for my compote, which will be basically the dipping sauce for the strawberry sushi roll. So then I just take and I'm going to throw these in the microwave for just about 30 seconds on high, just long enough to soften these since they were frozen. Now if they're fresh, you would not have to worry about thawing them out or getting them mushy a little bit, because you would have them fresh. Alright, so I just put those in long enough to start to get them soft, and I'm smashing these. That's all I'm doing. I'm smashing them and making them into a pulp. This is just such a fun way to connect as a family again, do things as a family. That's something that we've lost the art of today, is everybody's so busy that no one actually connects with their children and does things together, and I think cooking is a great way to do that. So here I've got some just plain old vanilla yogurt, and I'm going to put maybe 2 tablespoons worth of yogurt in here. Mix this around. And guys, it was that easy. There is our berry compote that we will use for our strawberry sushi roll. So I'm just going to put this in the refrigerator and let that set up. Okay guys, so the rice cooker rice is done. It is steaming, still hot. So what we need to do is basically get this cooled down. So sometimes there's a crust that forms on the bottom if you leave it in your rice cooker too long. If that happens, you don't want to use that crust because it doesn't bind well. Mine does not have a crust though, so I can use all of mine. I'm just going to empty my rice cooker. And the goal here is we want this to cool down before we actually stuff our sushi, because it gets more pliable and sticks together better. But on top of that, it makes it easier to handle because it's so hot. So I'm going to get this as cool so it's easy to handle, so cool to the touch basically. So now what I'm going to do is slowly, this is my seasoned rice wine vinegar mixture. So basically I'm going to put this in thirds. So I'm going to put the first third in and mix, because this rice will hold a lot of liquid still. What we're trying to do is season it with this seasoned liquid. You cannot overmix rice. Alright, we'll put the next third in. And continue to mix. And our final third. And then we're just okay, guys, so the rice has cooled and it is ready to be used. So we're going to go ahead and set that aside. Now, something you want to have here is a bowl of cool water to help so you can put on your hands so the rice doesn't stick to you. Now, there's a couple ways you can roll rice. You can roll rice in a traditional bamboo rice roller. Now, what I do is I actually seal this inside of a plastic bag just like this, and then I wet the plastic bag and use that to roll so I don't have to clean my rice roller. But there's actually an easier way to do it that I bought this for my wife so that she could actually make it, because it does take some skill to actually be able to use a rice roller. So we have this contraption here, and what it does is it allows you to make rice without all the fuss of a roller. Now, I'll have links in the description below for all these gadgets that I'm using, so if you would like to try it. This comes a part, easy to dishwash, super simple, great little contraption here. So the first thing I do is I wet the inside of my rice tube here, and then I wet my hand that I'm using to work the rice with, and I go into my rice bowl. And what I'm doing is just getting a small handful, and then I'm pressing it into this tube like so. And I leave a little bit of space at both ends here, and you're constantly wetting your fingers. You have to, otherwise it sticks and makes a mess. So I leave a little bit of space like that, then I just fill the other side, just like I did this side. Now, you don't want to overfill this because it will squish out the sides, and it just won't make a pretty roll. And it'll take a few tries just to get it right. It takes a little bit of practice to actually get this down. So then what I do is I take my roller, and then I just simply push it down the middle like that, and then I push this one down the middle like that. And what this does is it creates this tube that I'm going to actually use to fill with all my fillings. So we'll just go back here, and I can probably out of this batch get 3.5, maybe 4 rolls. So the first one I'm going to do is going to be all vegetable. So I'm just going to go ahead and just see. This is why it's so important to have your vegetables like strips. Because what it does, it makes it so much easier to fill your rice roll up here. And let's see, we'll go ahead and put a few strips of cucumber down here. And you don't need to really overfill these, because all you're looking for is the combined flavors. And then we'll go ahead and do some of the pepper in this one as well. And you can be creative. Whatever you want to put in yours, that's completely up to you. Alright, so once you've got your roll filled, we're simply going to take our tube here, and then this is made to go right below the screw marks here. And then this gets rolled over, just like so. And then once that's rolled over, I'm going to snap it, and then I just twist a little bit, put your cap on, that locks in place. Then I twist this down until I feel it release, and then I actually just give it a little tap, tap, tap. So what I'm doing is actually compressing my rice roll together. Not pushing hard, just tapping it to kind of solidify it up there. Alright, once that's done, I'll release the sides, open it back up, take the top off. We'll actually leave it sealed so I can show you how this particular method works. So what I do is I take and put a little bit of water down on my cutting board like this, and then I just push my rice roll right out, just like a sausage. And there is my completed rice roll. You can see it's nice, it's round, it's compressed nicely, it's almost perfect, really. So then the next part of this whole thing is knives. You don't want to crush your roll, but you also are going to be constantly wetting your knife. So I like to do about 1-inch pieces, and I just do a little sawing motion and straight down. And when you do that, your rice roll will actually come off nice and pretty, just like that. So once again, water, water, come in, long strokes down, slice through, pinch it, and then there's your rice roll. See, now I do mine without seaweed. If you did it with seaweed, it makes this process a little bit easier as far as holding it together, but this is very possible too. So there's my next rice roll. And you can see how beautiful the insides actually turn out to be with all of your little rolled vegetables in there. So you can see how nice and pretty that is. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go through and continue to use all of my ingredients up till all my rice is gone, and then we'll present this and then serve it to eat. All right, guys, so this is our finished results here. This is just like a pretty much a pure vegetable one. Then we've got a meat and ham cheese one that's got some roasted red pepper in it. And then we've got Court's favorite, which is carrot cream cheese. He loves that one. And then I did a dessert one today. The dessert one is the strawberry with the berry compote on it. So that's something they've never tried before. And then we like two things, sweet and sour sauce. And then we also like soy sauce. So these are the two things that we have here on a plate for them to try. So, well, I just made a mess of that one. So do you guys want to which one do you want to try first? You want to try your one you always try, Court?
Yeah.
Okay. So go ahead and grab one. And dip it whatever you want. And Mercy, which one do you want to try?
I want to try.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh goodness. This is going to be big. On the left.
Really good, huh? Alright guys, so I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you feel free to give it a try, if you do try it, make a video for us or take a picture of your family trying this meal for us. If you would, please subscribe, like this video, and leave us a comment. We'll talk to you soon.
Hope you enjoyed it. Bye!